This is the Real Love Talk podcast, where we show you how God's love and self-love can help you get to your desired destination. If a God-designed marriage is your goal, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Shenique Luke.
Hello and welcome to the Real Love Talk podcast. I am your host, Shenique Luke, and welcome to another amazing episode. Today we have an OG with us, y'all, so I'm excited to get back in, see what she's been up to. Miss Gianne. Now, I know Gianne from, do you see the shirt? This home team right here. So this is family. So I'm excited to get into what she's been up to. She actually just recently went full-time entrepreneurship. So we're excited to get into how does that correlate with marriage now. But for those of you who are new here, we're going to take it back just a little bit, give you a little background too, so no worries. But I'll let Miss Gianne introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. So yes, I am Gianne Demeritte, and I have been married for, I think this year is going to be 14 years.
Wow.
So we're working at 14 years, and he's a good guy, and I think we got together in the right time, which most people won't think it was the right time. But let me backtrack. He and I are both from the Bahamas, and he is 3 years older than me. So growing up in the Bahamas, we did not grow up in the same circles. It wasn't until we came to the United States for college that we actually met through college and mutual friends.
Okay.
If you had told me when we met in college that he would be my husband, I would have told you, no way in the world. And that is not anything against him. He's a very handsome man. He was very ambitious and was doing great things in his field, but it just didn't seem like he was my type. So we met each other. Fast forward, I continued to live my life. He was living his life. And then life brought us back together.
Yeah.
But about me, before I get into the marriage, I've always viewed myself a little bit different from other people. I viewed life differently. I've always been very optimistic. I roll with the punches. Anything that happens, I think that happens on purpose. I believe that the Lord orders every step of my life. So I think that's what made it a little bit easier to go through life, and everything that came before marriage and during marriage and now has been, and to me has been ordered. I thought that I was supposed to be this 9-to-5 worker all my life, that I was going to work for somebody. But like you, I've always been a creative, and I've always loved photography, but I didn't know that it was going to be my journey in life. But here I am, about to be 42, and just finished my first, well, it's not even a full year.
Okay.
It's not even a full year. No, it has. Last year, it would have been a full year, October, because I went full-time last October.
I was about to say, I know it was either close to a year or right at a year.
That's just how time flies.
I know.
October would have made my first full year as I keep saying entrepreneur, because sometimes
you can take the quotation marks off now, girl.
Sometimes I don't feel like I'm doing it right, so I don't know if I feel like I own it. But
no, you're doing great.
Full year as an entrepreneur. I've been really blessed with great support from my husband, my family, my friends, and some amazing clients. So.
Okay, so we'll pause on the relationship talk for just a second. So how does it feel? Because I know we've talked about it for a long time. Like, you're going to do it full time. You're going to do it full time. So what made you take the jump?
I think it was time. It was really hard to be, because when I work, I give my all into my job. I believe that I've got to be my full self.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where it was really hard being a full-time worker.
Yeah.
Trying to be a full-time wife, full-time mom, and follow my passion.
Yep.
So something had to give. And the way the Lord would have it, my husband had been an entrepreneur for years, almost our entire marriage. So we viewed it as somebody had to be stable. Yeah. Somebody had to have the full-time 9-to-5 with the benefits. And he was able to finally get his essentially what would have been a dream for him to be a full-time track and field coach at a university. Nice. So when he got that, I said, okay, God, I see you. Tag, you're it. And I decided to take the leap.
Yeah. Was it scary?
It is still scary. It is
But you're
still scary.
You're
I
doing
am.
great.
Thank you. I know you're
And the
biased.
quality of work is. Am I biased?
Sometimes I think you are because you love me, but I feel like I try my best to give.
No, it's good. I mean, and let me just say, the only reason that we didn't do Christmas pictures this year was because life has been crazy.
No, and I completely understand.
This is our Christmas go-to.
Yes.
Okay, we make magic happen.
You do, you do.
But anyway, so you say this still is scary.
It still is scary because I tell myself, you know, when you work 9 to 5 and you feel like, oh, I need a mental day. I need a day. That paycheck is still coming in.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, for me, like I say, if I get up and I don't feel like it, if I don't work, I don't make no money. So that is the scary part. But
having the ability to say it's a bad day, or
that is true. That is true.
You have that option, and you're the boss.
Yeah.
But I totally understand both sides. So going back to marriage, entrepreneurship, how has it been just balancing everything out? Because it is a lot of demand once it's full time. I mean, not being able to juggle the job and the part time. Now that's the quotation part. The part time gig, that obviously created more stress. But has it become better, or how's the balancing act now?
It has become better because it allows, like, I can navigate the time in terms of what I'm carving the time for. Time for hubby and I, time for the kids, time for myself. So that part has definitely not been the stressful. Trying to navigate through what I'm doing. It's just always been, unfortunately, the financial part of it. To making sure that, because for me, it's kind of the same thing for you. Like, you know, our mothers are workers. We've seen them through the trenches, and they're gonna get stuff done. And they are usually always the ones that are doing it. And so for me, I've always seen women that do their part. So for me, I've never been in a position where I want anybody to take care of me. So I always wanted to feel as though I was doing my part.
Gotcha.
So at certain points during the year, it was like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I putting in my end of the work? Like, am I meeting what I'm supposed to be doing? I've never been where I want my husband to take all the responsibility as it pertains to all the work, covering everything. That's just not me. So that was just the hardest part, to making sure that I was doing my part.
Okay, now you said he was working for a university.
Yes.
So is that more traditional hours, or? Because I was going to say that might, between your schedule and his schedule, that may put a little bit more stress on.
It can, but it just requires a lot of communication and navigating on my part, because at the end of the day, I have to be a little bit more flexible because his stuff is just, it is what it is.
Set.
So yes, so that can be a little bit stressful, but it hasn't been this past year.
Okay. So 2 things here. So I remember a period where I was at home for about 6 months, and you were talking about, you know, we've seen this type of woman, we've modeled her, we try to be like her.
Yes.
We take on the habits. And I really struggled with being a stay-at-home mom because I wasn't working at all. So I could imagine, like, even having to kind of take a step back where you're used to working more, doing more. I mean, honestly, even though you say it's stressful to balance all these things, actually letting go of those things is a whole nother, and I didn't realize there was a learning curve for being a stay-at-home mom, but that was one of them.
Yeah.
Like learning to let go, understanding, okay, in this season, I don't have to be
everything.
So how are you moving through that?
I don't think I've experienced it because because like the way I feel like the environment that I grew up in the Bahamas, entrepreneurship and what I call domestic engineers, stay-at-home moms, wasn't really something that I saw.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not at all. So for me, making it my own, so I still like, I'm the one that gets up and takes Gray to school. So I try to start my day that way. So I feel productive, because sometimes I feel like when there is a lot of lull time, I'm not being productive. And I hear my mom in the back of my head, like, what are you doing? And she will call me in the middle of the day.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Are you still in your robe? And I'm like, but I'm in my robe, but I'm actually working though.
Right. So you can do that.
You can do that. So no, I haven't had to let go of anything. Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe the expectation.
No, I'm saying that, that feeling of like, okay, I know you're still responsible, but like you say, financially, you're not in that role anymore. So you kind of have to let go of it to say, okay, I know that I'm still working, but it's not in that full-time capacity. I feel like it kind of took away from me being that strong, independent Black woman, because was I contributing?
I could see that. And I feel like I think it in my head, but when I think of the other things that I have to do.
Yeah, true enough.
Right. So it depends on where you are. So for example, last year, because it was funny enough, when I went into my first full day of, I think my husband's season had started. So when his season starts, he's gone weekends, during the week. And we have in our household, last year, we would have had a 16-year-old.
So you're there by yourself.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And my baby started baseball. So I literally became the dugout mom. Now, I love baseball. Like, I'm a sports fanatic. So it was never a problem for me, but I had to step up in different areas, because even though I went into my entrepreneurship and he went into his full-time as a coach, now he had always been a coach, but the role had just increased. So I had more responsibility in the household because he wasn't there. So what I wasn't doing financially, I was just doing time. And, time is money. So
see, I felt like I get it, because everything with the house and the baby was me. But I think I was so used to hustling.
Yes.
Like, it went from, kind of was like the pregnancy, like 100 to 0. And that did something to my ego.
I can see that.
Where it was like, I'm boss, and I'm getting the bag, getting all that fluff, right? But it did do something to my ego, to where I felt like, okay, I need to either go back to work, or I need to, I mean, it wasn't something that was going to be permanent. I think I had become the worker bee.
Yeah.
And I did not like not being a worker bee. Because, and now, of course, there's a shift, of course, with entrepreneurship, because you got to shift from the worker bee to the boss. So I'll ask you how you're doing with that as well. But I don't know. It was like some sort of internal thing that made me feel like I wasn't contributing, even though I was doing everything else. But I had just been so used to the hustle, moving, doing. Now, I was moving because Gabby was little. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I think for me, I did experience that. Now, when you say it like that, I definitely did. I felt as though I worked my entire life.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, because when you're doing it as a hustle on the side, and then you go to like just focusing. I mean, I think it's healthy, but I was not used to that, and I really struggle with it mentally.
I think I do. When it comes to my struggles, I don't think I put them at the forefront. Like, I internalize them and I process them, and then I break them down to, okay, and what's really serious, what you need to let go.
So what you're saying is you got it under control.
Yeah, I got it under control. But I did have those moments where it's like, I've always worked.
Yeah.
From before college, in college, there was downtime. I was always working, and I was always working for somebody. And like, we had the conversation off camera, because like I said, you're biased as it pertains to my work. I've really believed that I've grown in my craft.
No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I know that I do have a gifting, but it's had to be moments where, because I have great clients and friends that will say, oh, Gianne, your work, I don't feel like the boss. Like when I worked for somebody, I felt more of a boss when I was doing the work I was doing. When I do my own work, I'm like, I don't know if it's a humility.
Because it's come so easy? Because they say do what's like a gift and you'll never feel like you're working. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So maybe you're so much of a boss.
I feel like maybe because I put this on myself that I always want to do better. And I feel like there's always room for growth. And I feel like there is greater purpose and there's more for me to do. So maybe having that thought process, it won't allow me to get too comfortable.
I mean, that's a good thing.
So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you guys balancing with, so track season comes around.
Yes.
He has his strict schedule. You still got your business.
I still got my business, still
showing up as mom. Where's date night?
Oh, we do that. We do that. One thing my husband knows that my love language is, and it's not even a love language, but my belly is my love language. And he feeds me so well. He has definitely gotten the award for the past couple of years that he will find the restaurants in Atlanta. And I'm like, how did you find this place? Like, he's one of those people that he reads the reviews.
Oh, okay.
And so we have been consistent with it, where I will say that we go every month.
So is that on the schedule?
It's not on the schedule. It's not like, but we'll look at each other and be like, you want to go?
Yeah.
And we've actually not made it. It doesn't even have to be in the night. What we'll do nowadays, for example, last week I had an event and I was 5 minutes away from him. And I called him and I was like, you want to go to lunch? And we hadn't done anything for the year. So I was like, do you want to go for lunch? And he was like, yeah. And he is always he will make time for that. He is busy and he sticks to his schedule, but he will make time. That's the one thing, that he will make time. He makes time for me.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that. But I think sometimes when he thinks the time that he's making for me, he's just making for himself. So, but he can be selfish as long as it's my benefit too.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what a loving relationship is about, right? You being selfish and me benefiting.
Yes.
So do what you need to do. So I've learned, or I'm learning, because this is something that we may be struggling through. So tell me if it's a struggle for you guys as well, because I dabble in entrepreneurship, but I'm still working full time. But Mario is full-time entrepreneurship now. Okay. And it seems like that calendar is like golden. And so in our past interview, we talked about self-care and we talked about making time for ourselves. And I do a really bad job at that. So how is everything going now that you're running your calendar?
What, as it pertains to him
Both.
Or for me, self-care? Now, self-care for me, I try to do better about it. I don't think I was good at it before.
Yeah.
I don't really think I was good, but I think the past year of having a teenage girl and the demands of my son and it all being on me at some point in time, in terms of like just in the household, I've taken time for myself. I'm like, I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to get my nails done, or I'll be back with we have Life 360. So he always knows where I am.
Oh,
so if I pick up and I leave, then he doesn't know specifically where I'm going, but I'm like, and I will just go and have retail therapy and I won't even buy anything, but just, I'm more intentional about giving myself time because I know that I need it. I go home every year.
And has that been picking up?
Yes, I'm going back.
I feel, because I saw the other day, I'm like, she's going back again.
I'm going back again. And clientele is picking up, which is
just Christmas at
it
first,
was just
right?
Christmas, yes. And in the summertime when I go home. But I've had people that have requested me to come back, and I'm like, this is kind of amazing. But that always, I think I almost do like a binge self-care when I go home, because my parents are so great about, they still treat me like a baby. So it's like, anything you need, we've got Grayson, you don't have to worry. So self-care for me happens when Unfortunately, I'm not in the country.
Mm-hmm.
My husband doesn't get to experience all the greatness I experience when I go home,
Ah,
but he just likes to work. So
yeah.
he misses out, but I've still been intentional about that.
So how important is that in you showing up as a good wife or a healthy wife?
So important.
Yeah.
Because if I'm drained, I can feel it. My patience, I have no patience. I will
Yeah.
understand that that's not my ministry. The Lord has not given me that measure of patience that I need. And I'm trying to work on it. And I realize that when I get to the point where I'm like so low, then I need to
Mhm.
pull back and I got to work on me. Or I need to verbalize anything that I'm internalizing because it's going to affect everybody in the
Everybody.
household. And he's at the top of the household, so he gets it first, and then everybody else gets it after him.
So if there was a young lady who's listening and she's an entrepreneur and she's feeling like, or not even an entrepreneur, but just she's professionally successful
Mhm.
and she wants to get married. 2 questions.
Okay.
One, she's feeling like she has to choose. My career is going good. I don't have time for a man. I can't show, like, because society does make you kind of feel like you can't have it all,
Right.
or it's going to be too much. So what would you tell her if she's like, I'm just focused on my career right now.
Mhm.
I don't have time for a relationship or marriage.
I think I would actually have to tell her that we may not feel it, but we
Mhm.
are so much more equipped than anybody
Mhm.
to manage multiple things.
Mhm.
And I will never tell anybody that I wouldn't put a career before wanting to have companionship. That's personally, because at the end of the day, you want to have somebody that will be able to celebrate those victories with you. You're going to have down times. You're going to want to have somebody that's going to be able to support you and help you through those times when it's not as great. So, and because at the end of the day, if you can't manage your relationship, if you're bossing in your career, that means that you're managing multiple people, multiple
Absolutely.
personalities. That's a choice you're making,
Mhm.
to saying that you don't have time for somebody else, because I'm hoping that they would be in a situation where they find somebody that will be that person who can be that support.
Yeah.
That's that person who can be there to help them continue to go forward. So I don't view it as you shouldn't have time. I feel like you can, because if it is your aspirations to get married at one point in time, have children, you're gonna have to manage a whole lot.
Yeah.
So at some point in time,
Yes. Yes,
the
you
man
will.
is the man in the relationship is just the practice, because just more is coming.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes we lie to ourselves and make that as an excuse?
I
So,
think, yeah.
yeah.
I think we say it to ease, the expectation that, or the fact that it hasn't happened. So we have to say something to appease ourselves. And like I tell people all the time, like any of my single friends and my friends that are not married, I feel for them.
Yeah.
I feel for them to have to be where they are and walk through life right now and not have somebody that they can
Yeah.
walk through life with. I know that I'm extremely blessed to have been able to find my husband when I found him, and the person that he is, and how understanding and who he is. I know that that person doesn't really exist a lot in the world.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there. There's somebody for everybody.
Absolutely.
I just think that we have to be willing and optimistic and hopeful that we will.
I've heard of, now I haven't been in a position to where I have employees or I have to show up. In my past experiences, I go home at
Right.
5 or 6 o'clock. But sometimes it feels like the real upper echelon or boss women executives, it is kind of they may feel like they're losing something because there's so much demand, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
on them. So I'm just wondering, just from what you've learned in your first year of entrepreneurship and marriage, um, is it worth letting go?
The entrepreneurship or the
No,
hope
I'm
for the
saying like
relationship?
for the woman who is in that high demand executive position where she may have to, What if her husband is a track coach and she has to step back? You
See, it's hard because I know how I have so many boss friends.
and that's the thing. I feel like I do as well, and they have such these big. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but to agree with you, like these huge personalities. They're type A. They're assertive. And then it's like, I'm not submitting to this man because I got the, basically they're checking everything off the list except for
the man. Yeah. And that's like the boss friends that I have, I think some of them think that way. And I feel like it's just a way of like trying to kind of like soothe the feelings that they have, or whether they feel like it's making them feel inadequate. But they're not. I just think that I don't think that they should let it go. However, I think that they should be willing to compromise.
Yeah.
Continuing to be this boss, because at the end of the day, it's great to have these achievements. It's great to continue to climb the ladder. But if you climb the ladder and you're the only person up there.
Yeah.
So I'm very sensitive about answering questions like that because I know what I would do versus what other people would do. And that's why I would say I think differently. I move differently. Like if I get to the top of the ladder and I'm killing it and I find this amazing man and it requires a life, like a continued life with him would require me stepping back, I'm going to be the person that steps back. That's just how I am. A lot of people are not built like that.
Yeah.
But these are the people like you have to figure out what are your priorities, what's important to you. If you want to continue to climb, just know that you run the risk of climbing and being alone.
That hurt me. And I'm mad.
But it's the truth though, and it's so hard. Like I always want to be able to give my friends the truth. Like I want you to know that marriage is not roses and perfume and lingerie, what did I say, and all of that. It's not what that is. It's basically a journey going through life with somebody that you choose to go through life with. And one, you gotta like that person because you're going through life with them, and it's appreciating the things in life that I think that mean the most. It's great to have a great job, but if you got to travel across the world and you got to travel by yourself, or even though I love my friends with your friends,
you're like, I love you, but
I love you. Like,
I don't want to do all this.
I don't want to do it all the time. Like maybe we can go one girl's trip, one girl's trip a year. But in the back, and I know in the back of their head, everybody's like, you go on these trips and you're like, I wish I had somebody.
Yeah.
You know? And I pray that they get those people. I pray that becomes a reality, but they have to really be willing that regardless of what the situation looks like, regardless of it looks like there's no man in sight.
Yeah.
You still got to want and hope for it and be optimistic that it can happen, because he could be at the store. He could be at the gas station, you know? He could be that person that you just don't want to give the time of day in the building. I think that they are there.
I feel like when you've reached such a level of success that things become very analytical.
Yeah.
You know, very black and white. And relationships are very gray sometimes.
Gray area.
You know, the emotions. So I feel like sometimes, especially a lot of Black women, like, what do they say? That Black women are like the highest rising number of like business owners.
Yeah.
And, you know, so sometimes you've gotten so used to being alone that you kind of have taken on this idea that I don't need a man.
I can see that.
And I feel like that's probably when you say, are they lying to themselves? Are they making excuses? I feel like they may have taken on that mindset because, especially the really top executives.
Yeah.
I got the money, I got the house, I got the car. But like you say, you come home to
who?
Yeah.
And I mean, I can get that sometimes, like women, I feel like we are creatures that can become so comfortable in whatever we are, wherever we are. Like my best friend and I always have this conversation because she's a domestic engineer as well as she's a pastor, but she does so much. And sometimes it just feels like it's a lot. And I feel the same way. And we always make these comments. And I said that if the Lord decided he wanted to take my husband before me, I'm telling you, there's nobody that can come after him. I'm not doing that. I'm not. So I can see how, because it's been so many years and it's been so long and nobody's showing up.
Yeah.
You know, like what did Charlotte say on Sex and the City? I've been dating for where is he?
Where is he? Oh my gosh.
You know,
I know.
And I get that feeling. I empathize with that feeling. You know what I mean? So for me, like if that was become my lot in life, and I pray that that's not what the Lord has for me, but I don't know if I have it to give to somebody else. I don't know who the Lord would have to say, Gianne, this is the one. And I'm like, I don't know. So I get it. I completely get it. It's just that I have to let me continue to be the cheerleader in the background. Let me continue to be optimistic for you that you are going to have what I have. If this is what you really want, I'm going to say, girl, you're going to get it.
Yeah. I always, those conversations are really tough with that woman who is kind of giving up and feeling like they don't need it. Because like you said, I would agree with you in saying that it is a lie that they've told themselves. I think at one point I even told myself it feels better if I say there are no good men. Because then when I'm feeling some kind of way, I say there's no good men.
Yeah.
And then I go on about my day. So, and I know what, now that I'm in the role, I know what they want. And it's like, man, if I could just get them, I always tell one of my girlfriends, like, I wish I could just put you in my shoes so you could kind of see what's on the other side. Like if you make a different decision in your dating life or whatever. Because if you just knew I'm thankful for God and his grace because the only reason that I have my husband and my daughter is because of God. But I'm glad I didn't give up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad I didn't, because there were many times I'm about to get me a girlfriend. I'm about to get me a girlfriend and I'm going to be done with these trifling men because this ain't it.
Yeah.
So I know.
Yeah. We know the feeling.
Yeah. So I'm always like, if you could just see, creating boundaries or, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Letting go. So even to kind of say like, I'm used to working my whole life. I'm used to hustling. But now I have the opportunity to live my dream, establish my dream, but also let him lead too. Like that's a beautiful thing, but I know that it takes courage to do that. So I applaud that first, but also like I know I think it's harder for the independent Black woman to just, now you may be a little different because you're still working in you're not just a domestic engineer. But I understand like what letting go feels like and fully submitting.
Yeah.
That submitting thing.
I think I still struggle with that too, though. I think submission looks different in different ways. But we all struggle with it because, we are strong women and we want, but you just have to understand that just because you're submitting doesn't mean you're not being heard. And that also depends on the relationship. That depends on the actual marriage. Like my submission looks different than it would look for somebody else. But mine is what works for me in my marriage. And I think the other thing I try to tell my friends is like, not all marriages are the same.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest misconception is that it has to look one way when the truth is you create your own rules. I always say, as long as it's within God's, create your own rules.
Yes.
My husband is a better cook. I said it, Mario. He is. I think he enjoys it. I don't enjoy cooking. I can, like, even sometimes he'll be like, you really can cook. I'm like, I just don't like it. I feel like it's a task.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for him, I think it's more enjoyable. But most, like an older couple or you know, your auntie or your uncle, they might look down on your grandparents. My grandmama tells me all the time, you better go in there, you know.
You better go cook for your husband.
You know. And I just say, okay, because that's their generation doesn't get that.
No.
Things are changing, but I think that's also what kind of messed us up, because we tried to go by their guidelines and their rules, and it's like everyone is different, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, so I think this is therapy for me. This is not about you guys. This is about me. I am struggling through entrepreneurship, but no, I think it is something that I've heard of. Like you say, all your boss friends, they go through it, and I think it is a conversation that we need to have about submission. I think when we hear that word, it's a negative connotation on it, and it can be a positive, beautiful thing if you learn how to make your own rules with your husband.
Exactly.
The husband that you gonna get, girl.
You gonna get.
We touching and agreeing with you right now. But okay, thank you so much, Gianne, for joining us. So before you go,
okay,
I want you to tell me, tell the people, because we talked about it a little bit, but I need you to tell them how to contact you.
Oh yes,
you need to book her. She's amazing.
Yes,
some good work going on.
I try.
So tell us tell the people how they can find you.
You can find me. My website is the long name when I got married. Lord, that's the only thing. I'd be like, can I just hold on to my last name? It was easier. But G Demeritte Photography. It's pretty hard to spell, but if you put GDEM, it should come up. GDemerittephotography.com. You can also find me on G Demeritte Photography, or is it the @ before on Instagram? And that's usually where everybody finds me. For all of my boss ladies or any boss men that are actually watching, you need your headshots. Follow me on Instagram, or you check me on Instagram. You should be able to find it. It's something that you won't find anywhere else in town. I love families. Shenique can tell you, I love doing family portraits. I love doing, whether it be love me portraits. I have a thing with maternity and
group shots,
anything, and husbands love me because I can relate, because we can talk sports all day and I make it as quick as possible. They're in and out. I have clients that will tell you my husbands don't hate to take pictures, but the only time they will show up is when Gianne's taking them. So trust me. So if you find me on any of those platforms, I would love to help you with your memories and your milestones this year in 2023. But any way that you can find me, I would appreciate. Let's make magic happen.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much for
joining. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yes. Look, this is an OG. I love our conversations. So I'm going to be bringing us all together soon. So just make sure, because every time I have these conversations, I'm like, I need more. Yes. But thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, it's been a beautiful conversation. And like I said before, lean on, it doesn't matter if we're married, single, lean on one another. Entrepreneurs, full-time employees, we can help each other as long as we're just having transparent conversations. And sometimes we just have to be honest. So if you're the person that's expressing yourself, I encourage you to just be transparent. But if you're the listening ear, no judgment. Allow your friends, your loved ones to just create a safe space for them, because sometimes you just need an ear. So I encourage you to make sure you're doing that for one another. All right. We want to make sure that we here at the Real Love Talk podcast are helping you to get to your destination, and that is a loving, godly marriage. So I hope this conversation helped you today. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I always love to hear your feedback, and we will see you next time. Talk to you soon. Bye. So, my stomach, did y'all hear my stomach? That's why I made that face.
That was your stomach. I thought it was a plane. I thought it was a plane. I thought it was a plane. I was like, what is a plane passing? Did you eat